Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. I thought in today's video I'd actually give you a quick overview of some of the equipment I've picked up over the years. Now, some of this stuff has been gifted to me, others have been purchased directly by myself, and some of them I don't even bring to the gym anymore. I don't put them in my gym bag, but some of them are essentials in my opinion. So what I figured we would do is go through some of the things that, again, I've acquired, and I'll let you know whether or not I think they're beneficial and if I would suggest them. What I'll also do is I'll link everything in the description box below in case you're interested in checking it out yourself. So let's get on to the gear. Equipment. All right, here we have a lot of the gear just laid out on the bed. I tried to group these as close as possible to their counterparts just so we get a good idea of what's going on. There's some miscellaneous items thrown in as well just for fun. I'm looking at you, shake weight. But anyways, we're gonna start here with the chalk and chalk substitutes. So anyone that's been following me for any length of time, you know that I initially was training in a commercial gym when I started my YouTube channel. As part of that, they didn't allow chalk. So initially I didn't use any kind of substitutes. I just used wrist straps instead, but eventually I moved on to not being a bro, and I wanted to really improve my grip strength, so I got some liquid chalk, or liquid grip, I should say. I did a video review on this, and it's actually a pretty funny video because I do get yelled at for deadlifting in that particular video, but this is a great substitute or alternative if you can't use chalk, and I really stress if you can't use chalk, because if you can, you really can't beat chalk in my opinion, which is what I have right here in this Tupperware, and it's really cool. Cool, that's pretty lame to say that, but has this locking mechanism around it, so this top is really hard to get off, and that's key in my opinion with this, because this can get very messy very easily, but chalk is the best in my opinion, not to mention the most cost effective. I also have this Eco Ball, which in fact I've never opened. I got this maybe 2 years ago, so I'm not even sure if this is good. I don't know if these have expiration dates or how long they're good for, just because of the stuff in here for the grip, but it's a chalk alternative and it looks disgusting. But it's here, so I bought it, never used it. Maybe I'll break it open, but if you've used this, let us know in the comment section below because maybe you can help somebody else out. I mentioned wrist straps before. I actually only have one pair right now. It's a standard canvas pair by Vallejo. This is like a very cheap brand you can get on Amazon, but these have held up pretty well, mostly because I hardly ever use them. In fact, I probably went a good year without using them at all. I just started using them again as part of my pulling days. Towards my end, my accessory exercises, just because when my grip is shot, I don't mind throwing these on, but I try not to wear them for deadlifts or anything like that. Kind of in the same vein, people often get these confused. These are wrist straps. These are wrist wraps. So at the very top, you have the Gangster Wraps by Mark Bell. You guys know I wear these all the time. I'm a big fan of all the products they put out. I'll show you a couple other things I have from them later, but these are, in my opinion, far and away the best wraps that I've ever had or ever used, and I've used quite a bit. They've held up extremely well, not to mention they're pretty versatile, and I just like them a lot, and plus they're badass, not only how they look, but also the name as well. Straight up gangsta. But I've had a lot of other kinds. I've done reviews on some of them. So these Chic ones, for example, these are actually Velcro version. I also have some Chic thumb loop versions right here. Again, these are both picked up on Amazon for fairly cheap. I want to say they're somewhere between $10 to $15. And again, they do the job fairly well initially, but in the long haul, they tend to fall apart or not last very well, whereas these Gangster ones have held up extremely well. Now, two other pairs that I got recently, these were gifted to me by Anderson Powerlifting. I got some of their CLA 4000 wraps, which you can see right here. And I believe these are the CLA 3000 wraps that they sent me, so very thanks to them. These are very stiff wraps in my opinion, and although they're all right, I do not like them as much as I like the Gangster wraps right here. So these are okay, but they are roughly, I believe, the same price as these, the Gangster wraps, and I would suggest these over these. Again, at least in my opinion. Now with all these things, I will say, kind of a disclaimer, it is all based on personal preference in my opinion. Just because I like these better, you guys might and probably will have a difference of opinion. Now moving on to other things, I also have some knee wraps. So we went from wrist wraps and wrist straps to knee wraps. Now these again are Chic. You can kind of tell it's part of their same series. I bought these and I have only actually used them once for one set ever. They're just not my thing. I don't want to get into the habit of using knee wraps. I know a lot of people like them. It's just not for me. However, I have them. That being said, I do not bring these to the gym only because, again, I don't use them. I guess I could potentially use them for blood flow restriction training, but then again, I don't do that shit either. So they're there, but I wouldn't recommend them only because I don't squat in them. Speaking of squatting, let's move on to knee sleeves. So you have the rebands here. I've done a review on these if you're interested. I also have the SBDs up top, review and comparison if interested. These are a great pair of knee sleeves. I like these a lot. In fact, a lot of people like these a lot, which is why probably everybody has them on YouTube. However, the momentum seems to be switching to the SBDs. I know personally I prefer these better. I like the way they fit. I like the way they perform. I like the way they look better. So SBDs are for me. Again, I have a comparison video, and I think a lot of people feel that way too. There's a lot of chatter on YouTube and in powerlifting about if these add too much to your actual squat. I don't think they do, to be honest. I think they do add some, but not any more than these would, in my opinion. So knee sleeves, and these are great for us old men, especially if you're squatting a lot. I initially started wearing knee sleeves when I was working with Dan and I was squatting several times per week. It really takes a beating on your knees, especially when you start lifting heavy. So these are a very good investment, in my opinion. Either way, you can't really go wrong as they're fairly around the same price, but I prefer these SBDs. Speaking of pricing, here you see my Inzer Forever lever belt in the back. This thing cost $100. It was something I held off on a long time, and I wish I had my other belt to show you. Before this, I was rocking a Grizzly belt that I bought on bodybuilding.com for like 20 bucks. It's one of those leather ones that we've probably all seen that are small in the front and kind of tapered bigger in the back. It was a prong belt, and it was okay. And I really told myself when looking at a belt that, I didn't need to spend $100 on a belt. It's not going to make that much of a difference. I couldn't be more wrong. This is probably by far and away the best piece of equipment I own, and I would highly suggest a belt to anyone who's interested in strength training in the long term. When to wear a belt is a whole nother conversation that you'll never get the same answer from anybody on, but this is one of the best investments you can make. As the name implies, forever. It should last you forever, so you can really get a lot out of this belt. Also, I'll throw this in the background, the BBC, the foam roller. I don't really bring this to the gym. I have this for home stuff, but I think this is pretty versatile in the fact that if your gym doesn't have one, it's a good purchase to make. You can even get ones that are half this size or a third of this size, just because they're not very expensive and they really can help, at least for me. I know there's not necessarily a lot of studies out there that really support the use of these, but personally I feel that they do help me in my recovery and helping getting warmed up, and I make it part of my daily routine when I train. Other stuff that I've been working on a lot, here you see some bands. These are from Elite FTS. So we have a heavier duty one, the thicker one. You guys all love that thickness, and one that's not so thick. These are actually the same thickness and resistance as the ones in my gym. So you see me use black ones currently. The reason I don't bring these ones to the gym is only because my current one provides for it. Again, when I trained at the commercial gym, I would bring these in, and I found that these have really helped me. Again, I use these a lot, especially this one for my lower body mobility. The orange one for me is more for my shoulders and upper body, but I really like them a lot. I think they're a good purchase if you can get them for a decent price. You don't necessarily have to go Elite FTS, as again, many other companies make these as well. Keep your eyes out for sales, but these are great bands in my opinion. And I also like to use these on the bench, again, to make the bench more sticky. So these are pretty solid. Speaking of solid as well, I just recently did a review on these, the Lockjaw collars. I love these things. I've had the problem in gyms a lot of times where collars over time wear out and they don't stay on the bar, which kind of defeats the purpose, I should say, of those collars. So I picked these up on Amazon for 30 bucks. And they're small, they're convenient, and they don't fall off the bar, at least yet. And I've put some heavy poundages on them, and they've taken a beating, and they're still working great. So I would suggest these as well. Now, I mentioned already the Slingshot brand. Mark Bell, he sent me some other stuff. So I had purchased those wrist wraps. I'd also purchased the Slingshot, and as part of that, they sent me the compression sleeves and their hip circle as part of their gratitude for me being awesome, which, in case you haven't noticed, pretty freaking awesome. Hip circle is awesome. Speaking of awesome, there's a lot of awesome in sentences, but the hip circle has been great again. Definitely use this every single day as part of my mobility. Really helps open my hips, which I need all the help I can get. The compression cuffs, not really for me. They've helped a little bit when I had some elbow tendonitis. I slapped these on. I don't know if the sizing on these just isn't right because they just sent them to me and I didn't order the sizing myself. They're a little bit too tight for me, and I know what you're probably thinking. First of all, that's what she said. Secondly, compression cuffs are supposed to be tight, and I agree, but these are to the point where they cut off my circulation and I feel like my hand's going to fall off. So I'm not really necessarily sold on these as being a necessity just yet, but again, as far as this goes, highly recommended hip circle. The Slingshot, I've been starting to use it more now that I'm working with Silent Mike from Super Training and who works with Mark Bell. He's been implementing this into my training, and it's been nice, especially as an accessory thing for overloading. like this as well. This is the reactive one, the blue one. There's also the red, which is the original. There's the yellow, which is the full bore, I believe. So there's a lot of different options on here, but I got the reactive one. Moving on here, to give you a crotch shot, these are the Reband, so the same people that make those blue knee sleeves up there. These are their compression pants, even though they are shorts. And again, I got these when I was squatting 4 times a week. My hips were really taking a beating. I wanted something to not only help my knees, hence the knee sleeves, but also my hips, so I picked these up. These are very popular in the strongman world, and I gotta say I like them fairly much. I don't know if that English is very good, but I do like these a lot. I don't wear them all the time currently just because I'm only squatting twice per week and I can get away without it. These things will make your junk feel like it's in Africa. I'm talking tropical rainforest, dry desert heat. Well, I shouldn't say dry because you will be very moist, especially in that region right there. So these are good if you need it, if you feel like your hips are a trouble point as far as getting them warm and keeping them healthy. These could be beneficial, but otherwise, I don't think they're necessary. My dead wedge, I did a review on this also. This has been a great little tool. It cost 20 bucks, got it from lift.net. I use this obviously for deadlifting and putting the bar up, and a lot of people say you can use a 5-pound plate. This is so much easier in my opinion. Maybe I'm not using the 5-pound plate right, but there are some issues using those, and this is just easy to do. Again, it's cheap, 20 bucks, throw it in your bag. You always have it with you, and it's very, very convenient. I didn't feel like springing for a full deadlift jack. My gym does not have one, so this has been a great alternative. Some other mobility work. We have 2 lacrosse balls here. So this is actually something I picked up initially. I didn't read the description very well. This is actually a practice lacrosse ball, so it's a lot softer than a normal one, so you can squeeze it a lot more than you should be able to, which is okay, I guess, if you're really stiff and you can't handle the stiffness of a real lacrosse ball, which you have here with this blue one. But I have these only because I bought it, made the mistake, couldn't ship it back. It came from some weird foreign country. It smelled really funky coming out of the box, but it works okay. I just prefer this one. I also have one of these peanuts, so to say, which is basically 2 of these combined. So if you have extra lacrosse balls, you could just duct tape these together like a lot of people do. I don't use these as much as I probably should. However, I really like using this blue one to really dig at knots in my glutes. I found this works really well, and also some spots in my back. But otherwise, it's kind of tough on me, a little bit too tender. So these are beneficial, but not a necessity in my opinion. Neither is this shake weight. I just figured I'd throw it in. Number 1 for the lulz. Number 2, because everyone needs a little shake weight in their life. So that's the equipment that I have. Now let's move on really quickly to just some of the shoes that I have as well. All right, so starting on the left here, we have the classic Chuck Taylors. These are okay. I bought these. I think they run like 60 bucks or so if they're not on sale. They're okay. Got these initially for deadlifting, maybe to use for some squats, and they were all right for a while. However, what I did is I upgraded to these Reebok CrossFit Lite TRs when they came out. You guys saw my video comparison of these versus these. I like these a lot better in terms of their usefulness, their flatness. However, I found that these actually run a little bit big, especially in the toe box. So what I did is I upgraded to the CrossFit Lite Low TRs, which you see here, which are the shoes I wear in all my videos these days. These are probably one of my favorite lifting shoes I have. They're very, very comfortable, and they do a great job at what they do. I also have these Adidas Powerlift trainers. These are the first kind of Olympic-style squat shoes that I bought, so these have a raised heel. I think these retail for around $90. Again, I'll link all these in the description box below. And these were okay for a while, and the reason I got these is because I wanted a raised heel. However, I didn't want to pay the extra money for the Adi Powers. However, eventually, I outgrew these and figured, you know what? I want to go ahead and get the better shoes, and I purchased the Adi Powers eventually. And I got to tell you, I wish I had bought these first because these two just not compare. These are okay as long as you've never used these. If you haven't used these, you don't know what you're missing. These are a great pair of shoes. However, as I said in one of my kind of troll videos on these, the cons of these, I do not like the way they look. Plus, I was always really skeptical of, I wonder how the Nikes are. So I wanted to pick up the Nikes as well, which I did recently. And I'll do a comparison of these down the road. To be honest, from my use of these so far, there's not much difference. One of the main differences just has to deal with the toe strap in front, but otherwise they are a very similar shoe. If you do need a heeled Olympic shoe, you can't really go wrong with either one of these. I like both of them. However, the problem is they're just very expensive, as most of you know. I got both of these on sale. I think each one cost me about $160. Which is still really freaking expensive, but it's better than paying $200. So those are the shoes that I currently own. For the most part, the only ones I wear these days are these. even for squats, because I'm trying to squat with a flat shoe right now. Even though I just purchased these, there's some things I want to work on with my squat. So I wear these all the time. Highly recommended, even though they aren't very aesthetic and they're kind of ugly. They look like slippers, but really good shoes if you're interested. So there you go, that's the equipment that I have. Again, I don't bring all this to the gym. However, over the years, I've really tried to cut down on some of the stuff that I have in terms of what I carry each day to the gym. But I like to go ahead and get a lot of these just because I get the extra income from YouTube, and I want to try to save you guys money. So if I can give you my opinion and help you choose between something without wasting your money, that's really my main goal here. So hope you guys appreciate this video. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any of this, if you have any disagreements. Either way, be interested to hear your own thoughts. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.